What if the world we know is being intentionally dismantled? What if the disruptions we've seen in recent years, economic collapses, supply chain failures, and massive government intervention, aren't just accidents, but part of a plan? A plan to reshape society, a plan to reset the global economy. This is the Great Reset, an idea proposed by world leaders that has sparked one of the biggest conspiracy theories of our time. Is this just a plan for economic recovery? Or is it a blueprint for total control? The Great Reset was first introduced by the World Economic Forum in 2020 as a response to the global economic fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic. It was marketed as a way to build back better, to create a more sustainable, fair, and technologically advanced world. But almost immediately, people started questioning its true intentions. Why? Because when you look deeper, the Great Reset isn't just about economic policy. It's about restructuring society in a way that gives governments and corporations unprecedented control over people's lives. The key pillars of the Great Reset focus on transitioning to a digital economy with increased surveillance, pushing a shift away from private ownership. You will own nothing, and you will be happy. Prioritizing global governance over national sovereignty, encouraging the use of centralized digital currencies that could track and limit financial transactions. Is this really about progress, or is it a way to consolidate power into the hands of a few? One of the most controversial parts of the Great Reset is the push to end private ownership. In promotional materials, the WEF has suggested that by 2030, people will no longer own homes, cars, or even many of their possessions. Instead, goods and services will be rented, shared, and controlled by corporations and the government. For some, this sounds like a utopia, one where resources are used more efficiently and everyone has access to what they need. But for others, it sounds like a nightmare of absolute control. If people don't own anything, they depend entirely on the system. And if they depend entirely on the system, what happens if they step out of line? Another major element of the Great Reset is the push toward a fully digital economy. This includes the adoption of central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, which could allow governments to track, monitor, and even restrict how people spend their money. The use of carbon footprint tracking, which could limit individual purchases based on environmental impact. The rise of biometric IDs and social credit systems, tying financial access to government-approved behavior. Could the Great Reset be laying the groundwork for a future where people's financial freedom is completely controlled? As the Great Reset gained attention, critics began pointing out the suspicious timing of global events that seemed to align with its agenda. Massive inflation and economic collapse, forcing more people to rely on government assistance. Supply chain disruptions, making essential goods harder to access. An aggressive push for green energy, policies that have led to energy shortages. Is this all part of a natural shift in global markets? Or are these crises being engineered to make people more dependent on the system? The Great Reset is being framed as a necessary step toward a better future. But when the world's most powerful corporations and governments push a plan that gives them more control over people's lives, should we really believe it's for our benefit? The real question isn't just what the Great Reset is trying to change, it's who stands to benefit the most.